starting today's vlog with that scene by pulling my cross-country bike out, because every single time that I've done it, without fail, it has jinxed my plans of riding for the evening, especially when it comes to riding with Colin. So my stubbornness prevails, and I'm going to say I'm supposed to go riding this afternoon, or later this evening on this bike with my friend Colin, but every single time I say that, it doesn't end up happening. So with that said, I'm already trying to come up with like other things to try and make this vlog at least salvageable, or maybe like half interesting. Then at least I can edit something together. And now that I think about it, from this past Saturday, this bike it's wrecked. It needs so much love. So I'm probably gonna shoot some of that. Sure, you can see I've done a pretty poor job of keeping this place clean. Okay, so I think there's an added benefit to kind of going over everything that's wrong with this bike for more than just content. And I think that comes down to the fact that it's like, I'm sure that there's probably a few of you who are like new riders. Maybe you got a cross-country mountain bike, maybe you got any bike, and it hasn't quite hit yet that just regular riding, and it's not like I regularly ride this, but even hard riding, regular maintenance in general is going to pop up. This is not necessarily even a special case. This is pretty normal where my bike's at right now. And the number one thing that makes me want to actually kind of like take the time today to really go over this bike and make sure that it's, you know, safe again is the fact that that's pulling pretty far in. The front, while I was riding last Saturday, actually was just pulling to the bars near the end of the ride, and it was doing nothing. So there's definitely some brake bleeding to be addressed there. And it's not like I had a crash. It's not like anything happened. That's just regular maintenance. These Tektro brakes, they're not super great, so every so often you do need to give them some love. The hubs, well, the seals in most hubs aren't that great, so this thing doesn't roll particularly well anymore. Same with the rear. And I'm hoping the mic can pick that up, because you know, there's definitely something wrong there. And it, like I said, there's not like there's anything really crazy that happened to this. I just rode it. I rode it relatively hard, and I didn't clean it enough, and I think we're all guilty of that. We're all pretty bad for not doing the things that every bike manufacturer or every rider says that you should do. And then bikes end up like this. So from time to time, you do need to, if you don't do your own work, you got to bring it to a shop and you got to let them go over it completely, bend over, spend the money, or learn how to do everything yourself and buy all the tools, which is also ridiculously expensive. So that's my public service announcement before I do the work to my bike. Alright, so that's a brake bleed done. No matter how hard I try, I'm willing to guarantee that I didn't do a good enough job of keeping the brake pads from getting contaminated. Yeah, the bleed on the front turned out significantly better. I don't know if significant's the word to say, but the rear definitely doesn't feel as good in my mind. But when I actually start to compare them, they're pretty close. So onward and upward to the next thing. That's dealing with this, at least this rear hub, because it is messed up. Doesn't look like that's in too rough a shape. Yeah, I'm kind of just hoping that's where the noise is coming. That's super dirty. That's probably not helping with the noise. Yeah, I think overall, that rear wheel just needs like a full-on, not necessarily overhaul because the bearings weren't necessarily destroyed, but there is some grime and grit in there, and that's not helping. Doesn't help anything. I also noticed that this side, right on the drive side, the lock nut and the cone nut weren't tight on each other at all. So, yeah. These are kind of the things that you let go for too long, and then you gotta kind of deal with them. And then you gotta kind of deal with them all at once. So simply put, a little bit of cleaning and some new grease in there, do the trick. Actually, this free hub body sound. See, doing stuff like this is just a can of worms, because then you're like, oh, more noise. Wonder what's up with that. So then, okay, so there's about 3,000 different free hub body styles, and this one's not bad, but it is a little noisy. So I think I'll just throw some lube in there and hope for the best. So if you ever find yourself like rebuilding your hub yourself, I find, and I used to do this like when I first started kind of working on bikes, I used to just absolutely drench the races in like gobs and gobs of grease, like a ridiculous amount of grease, until I started to realize that it really kind of, every time I opened it up, it was still a mess, and there seemed to be more grit and dirt and all sorts of contaminants that had sort of been attracted by like the absolute gobs of grease that I had in there. So I kind of adopted having, you know, just a good skim over the bearing surfaces on the actual race and on the cone, and go from there. It definitely pays to stay on top of looking at the state of your wheels, for sure. have a feeling that I let this wheel go a little too far. So I guess at this point I would say that this wheel, actually this entire wheel set, because it's just the stock wheel set that came on this bike, are now in what I like to call palliative care. They're going to die, and I just need to make it comfortable. My plan was to go over these and like kind of add some tension to them, but with where they're at now, I don't think I'm going to bother doing that. I think I'm better off using my time to actually just put the nail in the coffin with them and like blow them up somehow, and then build something that's actually decent and like rebuildable and worthwhile. So that kind of throws my plan out the window for like wanting to make these slightly better. But it's not worth my time. Oh, and by the way, that prediction that I made this morning, where it was like, if I talk about going mountain biking, I probably won't go end up mountain biking. Yeah, remember that? Yeah, no fail, happened again. So all that work to try and get my bike back up to like at least half decent working order, not really for anything other than like content for this video.